Congratulations on a great season thus far. You guys are pretty much rolling. You're on this crazy momentum. You're 11-1, all in conference play, 10 straight wins. What's been working well for you and your guys?
Yeah, I think you just answered the question. It's the guys. Really it's almost gone on a full year now since we played our last game together, and we abruptly had to leave campus, and that their mission has been to get back together and do whatever it takes to play games with one another and for one another. And I think that's what you know has been the day-to-day approach is we need to do whatever we can to try and be together, and they play that way on the court. They share the ball, they help one another out. A lot of different guys have shared the spotlight over the course of this run in 2021 since we started playing January the 2nd. And I'm really proud and thankful to be a part of the journey that they've been taking us on.
What has your messaging, you talked about it a little bit just now, but what's your messaging been like to the guys throughout this shortened season?
Yeah, we coach a really intelligent group of guys. So, we've been pretty transparent and open and honest. And so, going back to, September, October, November, when we were hopeful to have a longer season, we talked about that. And when the non-conference games went away and we talked about, being conference only, we said, look, we can only, we should only really concentrate on what we can control. And so that's doing your very best to be safe and healthy, for our team, but also for the general community, and then work as hard as we possibly can every day that we get together. These guys love basketball, and it brings them joy, and it's part of their identity. So as difficult as times have been, we've really talked about finding that joy in going to practice every day, as mundane as it seems. And the few stretches where we've had games canceled on a Saturday, Sunday, literally just before tip off, that can be somewhat devastating. Like, oh, I got to go back to practice for another week and we didn't get to play. Or you have the choice of saying, we get to go back to practice and work together and play together and get ready for whatever that next opportunity is going to be. And this group has really taken to it. I credit the leadership. We've got some veteran guys, especially in the backcourt, and the young guys have just, in some ways they don't know any better. So they're just doing what the older guys are doing. And they've really enjoyed every day and have taken full advantage of the opportunities that we have had to compete.
You talked a little bit about too, there being a different guy every night. It's definitely a balanced effort offensively, but I think one thing that you've put emphasis on this season has been your defense, and it shows in the way that you've been able to win games. Can you talk a little bit about that and the defensive aspect this year?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I think, a lot of these conversations that we're able to have and share about our team, the focus has been on our offense, our 3-point shooting, how many points we're scoring a game, how fast the pace. You mentioned Jack's, nationally relevant 3-point shooting percentage, our offensive efficiency. There's all these offensive statistics. I think, what we know to be our best offense is when we're able to transition from defense to offense quickly. Well, if the other team scores, you can't transition from defense to offense quickly. So, we do have a lot of weapons on offense, and we are playing a deep lineup with a lot of guys that can contribute in a lot of different ways. But if it weren't for our connectivity on the defensive end, our communication, our positioning, our togetherness, we wouldn't be able to have that offensive efficiency to attack the way that we have been able to and keep so much pressure on the opposition. So I certainly think it's been the connectivity. It's not necessarily like one lockdown guy. I mean, if you look at our starting lineup, Ryan Moffitt, typically draws the best front court defender, and Tucker Richardson the best backcourt or offensive player. But they just, they're really connected as a group, and they're there for one another to help and communicate and make it hard on the opposition. And I think that's been a huge part of our success this year so far.
Yes, definitely huge. This year you talked about facing a couple of teams 4 times. You played BU 4 times. You beat them 4 straight times. Coming off of last season, especially the Patriot League final last year, which was a heartbreaker at Cotterill Court. Going into the Patriot League playoffs, when you, in the event that you do face them again, what does preparation look like for you in order to not have the same result as last season, even though last season you also swept them in the regular season as well?
Yeah, I think that the general answer may be more specific than a certain team. Again, I think this group is mature enough to understand that, whatever has happened to date really has no bearing on it's only gotten us to this point. And so, I think if we play one of the teams that we've played so frequently, there's certainly that common understanding. Every guy's best moves. What they like to do. Their tendencies. So you're really comfortable in that regard. If we're going to play somebody we haven't played, you got a little bit more preparation to do, a little bit more film watching to make sure the guys understand what the team that you haven't faced at all, because that's the other end of the spectrum is usually you've played everybody a couple of times, but it's really about how you play on that given day. And for us, I think that this group really believes in itself. So no matter who we're playing on any of those conference tournament dates, it'll be about us really focusing on us and being connected at both ends and executing well, and making sure that we're working as hard as we can to get good shots on the offensive end and paying attention to our details on defense to, keep the other team from doing the same.
This is a hypothetical, but would a Patriot League title this year, would winning a Patriot League title hold more meaning this season due to what happened last year and due to just playing in a pandemic and having such a condensed season? How much weight would a championship mean, or how much would it mean to you?
Yeah, to me personally, it's what gives me great joy about these situations is you get to go on a journey with a group of young people that's different every year. And so whether it ends in triumph or you mentioned last year and it was a disappointing moment, it's really the journey that you get to go on. So obviously this group has positioned us really well with the circumstances that we've been in. I couldn't have really signed up for anything, more a better result than what we've gotten so far. Obviously, for them, it would be fantastic to be able to, culminate this journey with another championship, with being able to string together a couple wins in a row, and for them to achieve our collective goal at the beginning of the season is to get back to the NCAA tournament and represent the Patriot League. But it would be, it would certainly be unique. I think there's going to be a lot of asterisks next to the 2021 seasons of pandemic. But, we will certainly, regardless of the result, always remember this journey that we've been on. It's been a great challenge, and I'm super proud and thankful to have been on it with this group of guys.
Keeping perspective here, you mentioned just 2 weekend series that you guys have had postponed. You haven't had any coronavirus outbreaks in your program. All of your guys have been able to stay healthy as far as COVID is concerned. What does it mean to be able to be a part of something like this, to have all of your guys buy in to this season, and
Yeah.
to have an organization like Colgate really step up in this way?
Yeah. Thanks again for that question. As much as we are competitors, and we love the game and basketball, I think there's been so many significant life lessons learned by watching our young guys and the commitments they've made. I talked a little bit about the sacrifices, being away from their families for so long, not being able to interact with other people, all for the purpose of being able to get out there and play games. That wouldn't be possible for them to be able to have made those commitments, and I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't include the staff and the staff's families. Like there's, we all have young kids and families, and the wives and children of staff. Like everybody has made huge commitments, but it all wouldn't have been able to happen if it weren't for our athletic administration and our institutional plan. I mean, Colgate it's been remarkable, how effective the planning and the diligence and the adherence to the plan have been, not just from a global a large picture, but each step along the way, it's really been able to create a really safe and healthy environment in both of our semesters so far that has certainly allowed our guys to be able to continue to do their part. So we've been able to, get out there without and practice, again, let alone play the games, but to find a rhythm and be together has really been extraordinary.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking out the time again.